How do you communicate with other people? How can you find possible partners for new research projects? How do you tell this story on the web after you've done your research, or maybe during your research? I mean, many scholars are now setting up blogs also and tell about the process of doing research. But the shift is this idea of the creation of new ways of doing research.
We had one encounter between design students, interaction design students, and social researchers, where a social research graduate student had done 3 years' work on women's body image, and the designer was faced with 3 years' data, absolutely overwhelming. But working together, they figured out what might be an interesting ICT design solution, which was actually an interactive mirror. So that was a very kind of concrete example of where you can get people working very closely together to kind of define interesting issues out of really good social research.
When we enter all the kind of information that we have in a computer, in theory everybody has access. So the curator changes, what we can do with our collections changes, and the kind of interaction which you have as a museum with others changes.
So that's our idea. You have to create bottom-up environments that are supporting researchers. Which means that you have to understand how scholars are actually making use of technology in their daily practice. So that's what we want to combine, to study this and to create more knowledge about the way researchers work in the social sciences and humanities, and new tools for them to play with. And we think it's very productive to combine that. And that's a relatively new idea.
One of the temptations for this, for designers, is to try and just skim research because they're always pressured by time. And one of the benefits of VKS is it's a research institute, so people can go in and design and conduct research projects which are interdisciplinary rather than being caught up in corporate timescales.
Ik ben ook zeer geboeid door die Wikipedia-formule. Toen ik dat, wat zal het geweest zijn, 3 jaar geleden of zo, voor het eerst hoorde, dan denk je, dat kan niks wezen, dat bestaat niet, dat dat iets behoorlijks oplevert. Nou, er is nogal discussie over hoe goed het nou is en het is toch verbluffend wat daar tot stand gekomen is. En als ik zie hoe vaak ik het zelf gebruik. En dat spreekt me als de anarchist die ik ooit was ook nog wel aan natuurlijk. Die vrijheid ervan. Het verschijnsel dat het gratis is, ja, strikt genomen is het misschien niet helemaal gratis, maar je komt er heel makkelijk bij in ieder geval. Mensen die hier heel erg in zijn, om het bijna als een soort secte af te schilderen, dat is het al lang niet meer, want iedereen doet eraan. Maar mensen die er zo heel erg mee bezig zijn, dat zou jammer zijn als die groep zich helemaal verwijderde, loszong van de normale vakbeoefening. Laten we zeggen van mensen zoals ik, die in wezen toch in een klassiek paradigma bezig zijn, maar wel het gevoel hebben van wat daar gebeurt is een interessante extra mogelijkheid. Daarom is die Virtual Knowledge Studio er ook precies, om nou dat mogelijk te maken. Het is natuurlijk geen helpdesk, maar in, laten we zeggen, in conceptuele zin zou het dat kunnen zijn door het verbreiden van ideeën en mogelijkheden.
One of the risks in doing ethnography of the internet is that you think that it's faster ethnography because you think that all the data's right there, it's online. But in fact, our most successful ethnographies of ICTs have been quite traditional in terms of taking a lot of time. So I think that it's a bit of a red herring to kind of think we can abandon all the normal ethnographic ways of working, the methodologies, to do something faster because ICTs appear to be fast.
Now, if you think that the internet and the web is an interesting expression for many people, so an interesting cultural phenomenon itself, and also a way that people express their social patterns in, the way they cooperate, the way they work, the way they think about themselves, finds all sorts of expressions in the web, then maybe you want to preserve it a bit for future analysis, like historians would do, or sociologists. So is it possible to create a bit more stable and a bit more systematic archives of the World Wide Web? Now, this is a very distinct topic. Lots of people in the world are now getting, enthusiastic about this problem, working on it. Libraries all over the world, especially national libraries, are taking initiatives. The KB, the Koninklijke Bibliotheek, the National Library in the Netherlands, is also taking the lead here. And we cooperate with them and we try to focus on the creation of interesting interfaces to these archives so that they can really be used by researchers.
The ability to bring together a core group of people working on a range of different problems to cross-fertilize requires action at a national level, and that's one of the really great strengths of the work that's being done at the VKS, and the fact that a decision was taken to bring it together at a national level.
I think virtual knowledge and virtuality can be an area for really rich study. It's an object for study, but also it is an idea that allows us to spin off into other constellations of ideas, and I think that's what the great advantage of it as a research centre is. It's not trying to say we have one methodology of doing things or we have one theory of knowledge. It's playing around with both.
We need a concerted effort to make it a theoretical object as well, and to really think about the meaning of ICT.
De utopie hier is dat daar dus het platform ontstaat waar mensen elkaar ontmoeten rond dit soort problemen en daar dan ook weer rijker vertrekken, zeg maar.
You could say that in the last 30, 40 years, lots of people have been studying the development of technology and the creation of technology, the use of technology, from the perspective of social and cultural analysis. So it's called science and technology studies, basically. That's an established field. What we want to do is combine that with the creation of opportunities for scholars to create new ways of working. And that's the combination of things that's relatively unique here, I think.
One of the things that I hope the VKS does is think seriously through that kind of challenge and bring it back to other academics and colleagues working around the world. So what does it look like if the VKS produces things that aren't reports? Are they products? Are they, kind of physical manifestations of ideas? How could they be disseminated?
They're going to develop new knowledge. They're not just going to be reporting how they used a technique to do something, and yes, I can replicate that and do something new, but they're also going to do new things that haven't been done before in a scholarly way.
There are so many interesting problems in this area, so it's a big space. There is enough space for everybody, so we hope that other scholars in other countries and other institutes will also do this. I mean, we don't want to have any monopoly here. We hope that it will spread out. If we have seriously contributed to virtual ethnography, to simulation, and if we have, really created and helped create interesting environments for scholars who are working on web archives, then I think it would be a success. Especially, and I would hope that we will be able to do that, if we have also contributed to new concepts. The basic goal, in the end, is to have a better understanding of how knowledge is actually created.